to have some type of influence, but also, yeah, probably to see some entertainment as well.
I got to get to super chats. When you
do it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
PayPal Mafia.
all right. So the super chats basically focus on one thing. They want to talk shit about you and CGA. So here's it. Question for Andrew. Big reason why the red pill doesn't give prescriptions is because we would feel morally responsible. And then this is continued. Is the church willing to take responsibility for the men who fail 10% of the time? Things like help him get a new wife financially, etc. If the church had a MOA, like Mike's MOA, to help, most dudes would marry.
Yeah, this question is so easily answered. Yes, of course. Men find solace in the church and the community of the church, and they help them through all sorts of moral crisis and financial crisis. Why is this news to you, chatter? Are you fucking stupid? This has been ongoing from the community of the church since the dawn of time. The entirety of the church is designed to assist you through crisis. What are you talking about?
I got another one here.
Will they take responsibility? They're the only ones who take responsibility. You know what red pillars don't do? They don't take responsibility for the mass promiscuity that they promote, like Coach CG Dumbass, who put out a tweet saying, go ahead and fuck hookers. How's that kind of degeneracy going to help us win the culture war here? How's that kind of degeneracy going to bring down the same single moms he says not to marry? How's that going to help that? It's not. How's it going to help with male STDs? It's not. How's it going to help men not commit suicide? It's not going to do any of those things. The guy is fucking stupid. And you people who talk like, it's like you can't follow a debate.
Oh, but they got you on this one. Are non-state recognized unions subject to the family court? Does palimony exist? If the answers to any of these questions is yes, then Andrew was factually wrong when debating CGA.
No, not only was I not factually wrong, I pointed out that there was only certain states where that was correct. It was pulled up in fact check, and I was right. Because I'm always right.
Andrew made an absolute claim that non-state recognized unions can't end up in family court, aka divorce court. Also, he has a marriage contract himself.
Yes, but so do you think, like, for instance, out of all the men who are in here, I probably have the most robust belly. But do you think that if I point out that another guy is fat, that means because I also am fat, that I can't point that out? It doesn't matter if I have a marriage contract. I can still point out flaws in marriage contracts. It has no bearing whatsoever on an argument.
Yeah.
You, chatter, are fucking stupid. And much like Coach Dipshit can't follow a coherent argument. Just follow the argument. That's all I ask. The argument was simple. The argument that I was making is if you're inclined to get married, right? Remember the topic is marriage in the West, not divorce in the West. If you're inclined to be married, which form of marriage is going to give you the best outcomes to mitigate disaster? It's very clear that since Orthodox marriage, 9% divorce, Catholic marriage is, I've seen it as low as 18%, depending on the Pew study, as high as 21 or 23%. It's still your best bet out of all of them. And if you agree, and the Coach Dipshit did, that marriage has all sorts of benefits for men, and you want to engage in those benefits, then don't you want to go for the thing that mitigates the most amount of risk? Answer, yes. Simple. His audience, and I'm just going to point this out to all of you who might be here right now, who are Coach Dipshit's audience. That guy is one of the dumbest fucking people that I have ever sat across from and debated, bar none. And I have no expectation that anybody who's following him is any different. Just want to point that out.
Beautiful.
Boom.
Boom.
Debates have never been harder to organize. We struggle to find anyone willing to debate people like Andrew, Myron, etc. Credit to Destiny for being one of the few willing to debate. Well,
yeah. And I know this because Tim Pool has a really hard time casting them to come on and do his culture war. Like, or they want to get paid, they cancel last minute, they always back out. It's they're pussies, dude.
And tell that guy, instead of sending in super chats and wasting my time with his dumbass straw man, to just call into my stream and I'll just debate him directly and make him look as stupid as I did Coach Dumbass. That's easy, right? And he's not sending in enough anyway.
Crucible Crew.
Crucible Crew. Shit post has to be $20.
Crucible Crew, drown out all of Red Pill dipshit CGA's audience with actual cash.
This was good because we talked about this one already. Thank you for interjecting. Let's see. While we have Myron and Andrew, what do you think about Sartain's statement? You don't need to sleep with 50 women, but you need 50 women to want to sleep with you. building attraction / pre-selection. We just talked about this.
It's a fair assessment. Yeah. I mean, I've said it many times. Like that 50, like people are so stuck on the number.
They are.
That's your vasectomy for me.
It's like so crazy how like people like take it and it's like, oh, well, I'm at 49. Okay, sorry, babe, can't get married. Like, no, it's like I say that. So I just want guys to be in a position where they understand female nature and have the red pill awareness to navigate dating in the marriage marketplace in an intelligent fashion. Now, some guys are high IQ. They could figure it out after one girl. Some guys, you look at like Nick, he's a virgin, understands females, great. But let's be honest, most dudes are fucking stupid and retarded. And I like, as much as I say men are stupid, women are stupid.
Like
a lot of you motherfuckers are retarded too. Like a lot of guys, they need to get their hand burned on the stove. They think that their style of game works, simping on women. Because when it comes to dealing with women and attractive women, a lot of guys have fucking egos. Yeah. So they'll think, even though their methodology isn't optimal, they think it's the best methodology.
Yeah.
And what's up happening is they have to make mistake after mistake after mistake to realize, oh, this doesn't work. Then by then maybe it's 10 girls, 20 girls, 30 girls, and it takes them that number to figure it out. But if you're a higher IQ guy, you can figure it out after just a few. Now, my thing, and I like that where it says you need at least 50 women to want to sleep with you. Yes. Like ideally, look, if you could figure it out after 20, 30, whatever, or less, the less the better for you. But the reality is I just know most guys are stupid. Yeah. So I have to go off the lowest common denominator since most people are retarded.
Well, and remember that I made the counter argument of value when me and Myron discussed this on his show. So my argument, my basic argument against this is just that I don't give prostitutes or promiscuous women, I consider that of no moral value. And what I don't want is a normalization that there is moral value there because it's useful for men to use them to wipe their dicks off to understand female nature. I don't want to ascertain any moral value that way to these types of women. So I do think it's a better proposition that Sartain offers just on this particular point when he says it's important that they want to sleep with you, not necessarily important that you actually sleep with them. That's
no, I mean, I can definitely see that perspective because at that point you've built yourself up. But to get that position where they want to sleep with you, you had the traits to be attractive in the first place and the pre-selection. So like, because the thing is with guys, like women have this superpower. One of the few things they can actually do right. They have a fantastic ability, this uncanny ability to like detect when a guy has women that want him. Yes. Like they can just feel it when they talk to you and your mannerisms, the way you behave, the way you convey yourself. They're like, oh, this guy's getting laid. Okay. So, but in order for you to get that confidence, it's very difficult to do it without actually getting laid. Like some guys can exude it without getting laid, but most guys are going to need to actually be getting that real repetition and really getting these women to be able to exude that nature, that feeling that the women can get off, that they can notice.
Let's go back to your high IQ comparison. I think Dave Smith is high IQ, and I think Steven Crowder is high IQ, and I think they both made a mistake by not getting a prenup. Steven Crowder, we can see obviously. And then with the Dave Smith thing, he was on your show, and he goes, "The rest of you guys need a prenup." But I don't need a prenup because my wife is never leaving me. He said this on the show. No, I totally understand what you're saying. And he was not joking. He goes, I understand, but you don't understand. My wife is so in love with me. I don't need a prenup. You guys need a prenup, but I don't need one. And I'm like, oh my God, bro. So here's the problem. The thing is, there's the software update of social media. There's the narcissism that's been developed by social media, dating apps. And then additionally, people can develop mental illness late in life. You don't know. I've also seen a situation, and we've had discussions about this, where people put on 100 pounds of fat and their brain doesn't work right anymore. And so that's another thing that can happen. So that woman that
or they're just on the wrong medication for a bum knee.
Yeah, there you go.
They're on the wrong medication for a bum knee, and the wires get crossed, and they become a different human being overnight. Yes, of course that happens. One thing, and poor Steve, the guy did it right. He did it exactly right. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He had a Christian marriage, married a virgin. He himself was, right? They had a beautiful family. He did everything right. And the thing is, though, is that the sewing circle Christians got in his head about what he was supposed to do in his marriage, what he wasn't supposed to do in his marriage. And because he thought he did everything right, he ended up getting really fucked by the bad advice. And that's the thing about the red pill advocacy that I always say is good. It's a descriptive packet, right? It's a descriptor of things, not a prescriptive packet. Yeah. And if he had had access to that descriptive packet before he had gotten married, what had happened with him and Hillary Crowder would not have fucking happened. It wouldn't have happened because Sartain's right. He is high IQ. And the problem is that shit was not, you got to remember, for our generation, mine and Crowder's, that shit wasn't available. There wasn't anything like that. It wasn't there.
You had to go looking for it. Like
not only that, but even if we went looking for it, it was hard to find. You know, it was easier to find.
It
was easier to find money laying in the street.
Literally, we don't advertise.
Literally, not even 5 years ago, this red pill stuff was still very underground.
Yeah,
that's why they hate it so much. All the feminists hate it so much.
Yeah, you want to talk underground? I'll tell you, 20 years of underground.
So, like when I say like the people who really get stuck on the 50 number, I just want guys to understand female nature. How you get there is up to you, but I understand since most men like need to bang their head on the wall a few times. It might take them 50 to figure it out. But if you can figure it out in less, fantastic. Because the ideal situation is to get with a female that isn't a 304, that's going to respect you, that's going to follow you, etc. Because I just understand that religion, unfortunately, it will keep some women in line, but it won't keep others in line. And I saw some of the debate that you and CJ were having where you were saying, look, I understand that marriage is a institution that's dangerous in today's day and age, but this is why we need to remove the state, make it religious only, because religion is a very good buffer on female hypergamy to shame them, right? Because you have the
social,
the social. You have these social things where they keep women in line. And if if you're able to kind of like fix in that way, that's great. Because I've said that before too. Like, if you want to go ahead and get married, just do it religiously. Don't do it with the state. Yeah. And then adding the component of shame and community, that will make them want to stay in the marriage more.
Along with propaganda.
Yeah.
And the basic idea, idea too, the idea is, well, that's some possible future. It's like, no, that's right now. Right this second, the Orthodox and Catholic churches are keeping families together by doing this, by having the social ecclesiastical authority to help govern people's marriages. And they do a good job. And the thing is if the women are involved heavily in the church, that becomes part of their social circle. And you know, as well as I do, that most women are the sum of their social circle, just like men are. And divorce as a social contagion, right? And leaving your man, social contagion often. If you're around a woman who's divorced, what happens? She starts telling the other women,
absolutely,
get fucking divorced.
It's literally cancer.
It's cancer. Yeah, it's a social contagion. So the churches right this second, the traditional churches are assisting men with this. And if it's the case that you want to get married right now, there's nothing valuable about secular marriage. It's totally garbage. It's always been fucking trash. And it was always going to lead to this. Marriage to me only is religious.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, so if that's the case, we're talking about marriage, that it's a religious institution. The religious institutions ought to be what's governing it. And when they do, man, the outcomes are better. Now, how does that affect secularists? The idea here, Andrew, okay, what about all the secularists? Well, secularists shouldn't get married. What is the value of getting married if you're a secular? It's a religious institution. What are you even doing getting married? It's worthless to most of them. And that will put them in a terrible position.
And that's why gays
but let me ask you, if you had to get married right now today, right this second, and it was blind, you just had it, and all you knew was this, that you could pick between a secular woman, a Catholic woman, or an Orthodox woman. Those were your three choices. Okay. And you were going to be stuck with them forever, right? And you didn't want them to cheat. What would you pick?
Who's the hottest?
For a long-term marriage, I'd go with or the more religious woman, the Orthodox.
The Orthodox or the Catholic, of course.
Yeah,
right. So then the idea, so what we've just established is very simple. Then the idea is, if you're going to get married right now and you want a prescription right now, Myron just told you that the only prescription is going to be that you're married to a woman who's heavily religious in a heavily religious institution, and you are too. Or don't fucking do it. And that was what the debate with CGA was. Yeah. And what he didn't understand, because he couldn't shut the fuck up long enough to hear what the argument was.
It was crazy because I listened to some of it and I totally understood your argument, because I've said that before. I said, look, if you can get married without the state involved and have like what I call training wheels, right? Like, these social training wheels. Because with women, what I've realized is like their kryptonite is shame. The religious institutions do that for you.
Yes.
You better not leave.
What? The priest is going to go and govern your sex life? Yeah. Well, they don't go in your bedroom and do that. No. They don't need to.
Yeah.
Because what happens is the entire social order of the religious institution. What's my proof?
It does not.
Islam. What's my proof? Islam.
Yeah.
What's my proof? Right? If you're inside of a religious nation, those women fucking behave. Holy shit, they behave. Mm-hmm. When you're inside of this nation, right? If you're inside the traditional churches, they're not beaten down like what they do with Islam. They don't have to wear shufas around their head. They don't have to be second class. They don't have to do any of that. But their behavior is governed within a social circle and with priests who are assisting as spiritual fathers inside of their lives with a community that helps with serious marriage problems. Marriages have serious problems.
Of course.
And what secularists do is they go to psychologists who are 20-year-old bimbos fresh out of school. They don't know shit about nothing.
Yeah,
they don't know shit about nothing.
Like, yeah.
So 95% of psychologists under the age of 30 are female.
Wow.
95.
Oh,
There are more. And by the
Cool.
way, when it comes to primary education, there are more female military pilots than there are male. There are more female fighter pilots than there are male kindergarten
completely
teachers.
overrepresented in every conceivable way because the path to entryway is really easy. When you're studying the idea of the mind, right? This is not a physical thing, which is why, I don't consider psychology science. I consider it not even pseudoscience or soft science. I just consider it garbage, just intellectual garbage. And ultimately, it has a really bad track record. And the fact of the matter is that the women who are now in control of it, they tend to give the most awful relationship advice on planet Earth, which is why when psychologists come on, they talk with Myron. Myron fucking obliterates them. I mean, just
because they prioritize like psychology now. Especially when it comes to it's become femme-centric. It's more about women being happy versus just like making it work. And the thing with the religious stuff, because I've said this so many times, and it's crazy how like people just take the 50 thing and they don't talk about all the other things. They say, well, if you have this could work as well. What I've realized with women is like their kryptonite is shame. And if you can instill that shame, whether through religion, through community, or a combination thereof, you significantly mitigate her divorcing you and leaving you, because now she has an incentive to stay versus having an incentive to leave, which is what secular marriages do. They prop the woman up to want to leave. So if you're able to get
as much incentive as possible to it.
Exactly. Yep. So what the religion does, especially with a community, the secular incentives of financial leaving to get half your money gone. Now she has incentives to stay because all her friends are married. They work with her through her problems. And then also she doesn't want to be the only one that's like leaving. Like, oh, what are you, 3 or 4?
You can't participate in any of the fun stuff with your community anymore.
Exactly. And now she's ostracized. And that works. That's the best tactic.
And you want even
women.
more proof for what Myron is saying? That's so great. If you want to see like the cult Christian religions, like the extreme Mormons and stuff like this,
Branch Davidians.
where you ask them, you say, why did you stay? You ask the women, like, why did you stay? And they're like, well, I didn't want to leave my community of friends. I didn't want to leave my community of friends, and I didn't want to leave my community of and that's they are the sum of the women around them.
You use the communitarian, like their need for a communitarian like society. Yes. You use it against them.
Use it against them. And if it's the case that women, and this is the case, by the way, if it's the case that you have a woman who's hanging out with a bunch of whores, what does she become, Myron?
Oh, yeah, it's cooked. She's gonna.
What does she be? She becomes. And if you have a wife and she's hanging out with a bunch of divorced women, what should that man do, Myron?
You should get the fuck out of there, man.
Because
it is like
it's always the case.
It's because it's like it's so wild to me how like if you, and it sounds fucked up to even say this, but the reality is like you have to like almost set things up with buffers to protect your relationship in advance. Religion's a way to do it. Her friend, making sure her friend group aren't whores is a way to do it. But, I think really like the biggest thing is you need to have some trigger effect where if she does something to you that's going to mess you or her up, there's going to be enormous shame. That's their kryptonite. And I would argue feminism, the basis of feminism in itself is to remove shame. Oh, you want to go get educated?
Whole thing.
Don't get shamed.
Yes.
You won't get shamed for it. You want to be a 304? You can go ahead. We're going to remove the shame.
You want to have an abortion?
Yeah.
No shame. You want to abandon your kids? No shame.
Exactly.
You want to abandon your family? No shame. You want a career where you neglect your children? No shame. Don't let no man tell you nothing. The patriarchy's just trying to enslave you. You're totally right.
That's what feminism. Dude, I've been thinking about this at night. I'm like, feminism is literally nothing more than just removing shame from female behavior. That's what it is.
And removing force.
Yeah.
It's removing force and it's removing I agree. Sartain brought this up in an earlier interview he did. It hasn't been released yet, but it's worth talking about now. You referenced these as societal stopgaps.
Yes.
You called these societal stopgaps, and you had a few that I think you should share besides just religion that were really good.
Yeah. So I talked about one was like we talked about before with the Myron Gaines effect, where this is for the longest time. So basically, when you had the discussion with CGA, he was talking about, oh, this is fairy tale land, getting people to change their beliefs. And you said, well, no, we did this in the 1950s. This is how we'd have a sisterhood of women who would shame them. You left your kids, you left your wife. That's horrible. And CGA was like, oh, no, that would never work now. This is fairy tale land. And I'm like, I just watched this president who has been called a racist and a Nazi for the longest time.
Get elected.
Get elected, but get elected with so many more minority voters who would have never voted for him previously are doing so. And then we can also look at other things like.
But I brought this up as an argument. Like we can see that the social paradigm is changing. And right now there are things that you can do to mitigate serious amounts of risk. But let's point this out. as you bring up this societal stopgap, when you're referencing the 50s, and Myron, maybe I get your input on this.
Yeah, sure.
My wife, she puts in occult feminism, the idea of the sisterhood can actually be beneficial to men in this way. It used to be that it was the case that if you were acting like a whore, the women went nuts on you, and they went ballistic because they thought if the men come over and start fucking you, they're not going to marry us.
Yeah.
So they would go ballistic and they would scarlet letter their ass, right? And they would shame them and they would run them out as the village whore, right? Yep. And Rachel gives tons of examples of this from the historic standard. Why is that not possible now? I think it is.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. But like that's where feminism comes in. Feminism came in literally to destroy that, that whole shaming thing. So if we can get that back, that would be a component. Like the thing is, like with both of you guys, I understood both your arguments because you're saying, look, you can absolutely use the institution of religion in modern day society to keep women in line. And I could see that because I've said that myself. Marry a woman in the mosque, remove her if you're Muslim, or marry in the church if you're Christian, remove her incentive to divorce you and destroy you financially. Like if you remove all these things, you mitigate risk significantly. And then you add in the component of a community and shame. She ain't going nowhere most
Plus
of the time.
a prenup?
And a prenup, yeah. Now it's like you're an idiot if you leave. But I see his perspective where he's like, well, a lot of women aren't religious. Fair. That's cool. I get that. But this is why it's so important.
But then that's not marriage anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So who cares? It's not marriage anyway. My view, marriage can only exist from so when you say marriage in the West, when you say secular marriage, it doesn't register. That's not marriage. It doesn't. To me, it's an incoherent babble.
Yeah.
Right.
Secular marriages don't work, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. They not only do they not work, right, but we can see now the writing on the wall of what happens when secularists get married, and we now see the progression of now it's going to be 3 men getting married and adopting a child, or 4 women who get married to one guy, and then we end up with a polygynous relationship with children, and it creates all sorts of havoc. Right. Secular marriage is a fucking disaster. Yeah. So yeah, my advice if you're a secularist, I wouldn't get married. It's a terrible idea.
I do want to point this out because this is a pretty important.
And it's crazy because you guys would have probably agreed on that.
We did agree right from the beginning. But my definition of marriage does not include secularism.
Yeah. So I want to point this out because you said marriage isn't for everyone. So you bring up the idea of secularists, and you also bring up the idea that I've heard you in other debates talk about not everyone, the majority of men did not get to reproduce.
Correct.
So whereas maybe someone like Matt Walsh is like, no, all of you need to get married. I don't know what you guys are doing. You need to repopulate the earth. The major distinction, I think a lot of people understand, is that you're not saying for every guy to get married, but you do espouse the positivity. You said a virtuous woman that you can raise children with.
If you're debating the proposition about marriage in the West, we have to define what is marriage. From my view, marriage is only a religious sacramental institute. And that's
an important detail.
What you guys are talking about is some kind of bizarre state contract, which would be fucking stupid for anybody to sign. That's the stupidest shit in the world, right? Me and my wife, crowning ceremony with our priest, right? In God's sacramental entire community, a whole community available online, offline, to help us with marital issues, society, problems that may come up, just huge resources there available to us.
Not some bimbo feminist.
Not some bimbo feminist psychologist, right? So for me, I don't even register that secular marriage is a thing, right? Now, can it be beneficial from the church's perspective? Would we say that I wouldn't recognize your marriage if you were secular? No, I'd recognize it because I think you're on the process to moving towards religion. And so I would recognize it and say that's good that you're moving towards the church. But in general, in societal terms, it's generally bad for secularists to get married for all parties involved because of children. We got children involved. And it's just terrible for them, for the divorce, for everything else. So that's one. Then the flip side to this is like, if it's the case that you want to engage in all the benefits of marriage, you want the benefit part for men, which he agrees. Marriage used to be a once great institution. He opens with this. Agreed. But what made it great? Well, what made it great was that reinforcement was there from the religious base and the social shaming aspect. And so if that's the case, and if that's the case that you want in your corner the benefits of marriage without the risk, religious marriage is the only way.
And you know what? I'm really glad that we're having this conversation because on this side of the internet, we tend to talk a lot about how marriage is bad, don't do it, etc., why it's awful, but we never really discuss in detail how to go about it in the best way to mitigate risk. There's always going to be risk, right?
Always.
But I think you brought up a really good point there, and I wish more people like heard that, like where you're saying, I don't even recognize secular marriage. You got to do it from a religious standpoint for it to work. Like, so people are already messing up by being secular about it in the first place. And I agree that when you make a religious institution, remove the state, make it strictly with the religion, add in all these shaming components and these like almost like these fail safes, it makes it very
the stopgaps,
indestructible, or stopgaps. It makes it very, very powerful. And this is a way to navigate the marriage conundrum in a safe manner.
And where are young men going? Where are they going? They're flocking to the church.
Yeah, a lot of them
to
are
the
buying,
traditional
Bible
churches
sales are up significantly.
And why are they flocking to the traditional churches? It's not just because they want to get themselves their base trad wife. It's because it's the one place left where there's still a social institution that actually recognizes masculinity, won't punish you for it, one. And then two, it actually gives men resources. And one of the biggest failings that we have for men of all ages, it doesn't matter if you're 90 now, and it doesn't matter if you have just turned 18. The amount of resources that are available for you as a man is garbage. And the amount of resources that's available for all women is massive.
And they give you massive resources to destroy your marriage. There's an entire and Rollo's written about this extensively, an entire like divorce Inc. Like there's a divorce
divorce industrial complex.
It goes, I mean, like Jim Sexton has talked about this before too. It goes from prior to you getting married to you having the wedding, to you being in a marriage, to dealing with all your problems in marriage, to the separation, to the divorce, to the child care, to alimony, to post-divorce stuff and everything that comes out, and then getting back into it again, get back into the trend.
I honestly think that sometimes like the secularists, the chicks just get married because they want to have a wedding.
Oh, 100%.
They just want to have a wedding and a ring and the photos on Instagram. Like if Instagram didn't exist and if the actual wedding day didn't exist, I don't think that any of these chicks would be
attention, bro. Attention,
They want to get married, but they don't want to be wives. Like I've said that so many times. Like they want the ceremony, they want to walk down, be the attention. It's like their like ultimate orgasm because like they're the center of attention. It's like their day.
It's not just their center of attention. Like for a man might say, "Well, I have a lot of women who want to sleep with me, and I'm proud of it." A woman, her win, her W is going to be, I got a high status man to commit,
make me an honest woman,
and not only is he going to commit to me, everyone's going to see this, and everyone's going to show this on their phone, and they're going to put on IG stories, and everyone's going to see his commitment towards me.
Absolutely.
I reckon honestly, one of the best tests you could do if you're going to get married to a chick, say, you know what, I'm going to use the wedding money that we would have used, and we're going to invest in some assets, and we're not going to have a wedding. See what she says.
Put a down payment on a house.
Or how about this? How about this? At the wedding, there'll be no photos or video.
Yeah.
We'll see how that works.
No Instagram, no flexing.
I would just point out, like me and Jake were talking earlier about this. About this idea when you're talking about secular marriage. It's a racket. Yeah. It's a racket. I mean, at this point, it's so exposed and overexposed as being a racket. And it's a massive industry, as you pointed out in multitudes of your books. But the thing is like what men have lost, what's gone from society without patriotism, which is gone, it's destroyed, right? Completely destroyed. We used to pledge allegiance to the flag, right? We used to have some kind of sense of community. So that's gone. All of the kind of traditional things that we used to do to have a sense of community are destroyed. And all that's left to us, and the most powerful institution left to the right, is the church. And if that's the case, and that's the place that you're going to get the maximum amount of help, doesn't mean they're going to necessarily give you tons of money, right? But they'll help you in the way that you really need, which is community. It's other men. So what do other men always do? Andrew, you're too fat, work out more. Right? Andrew, you need to do this.
Look what it
did. What the hell is wrong? Well, you can't get some new clothes, Andrew. Come on. Hey man, your beard's not looking the best or the most crisp, right? It's always a sense of poking and prodding for improvement, and also to assist you in being better, not being worse.
This hot broad just sent this in here. Look, Rachel Wilson says, let's not forget that when Andrew says the church, he does not mean the church. 90% or more of American churches have been completely feminized. Great show, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say this point as well. It's like, they're sewing circle Christians, and those chicks and the girls who go into the church at like 32 years old once they're done with their hoe phase, and they get baptized in some like inflatable pool or something. Like we don't claim
the Nala Ray, right? Born again to minister to you, Mr. Orthodox Smoky Man who's bad. I would point out.
I got a question for you.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I would just point out she's right. That's why I caveat this. The traditional churches. So these are three categories: Orthodox, Catholic, and there's some Protestant high churches, which follow in the models of those. And because they do have serious ecclesiology behind what they're doing. And so these are people who study marriage. They're often counselors themselves, and they hyper focus on helping their flock do what they're supposed to do, which is stay married, give the resources, the sacraments, all of the things that give those sense of community and spiritualism.
How would someone find it?
What, like orthodoxy? You walk in the door.
Well, no, but it was like, because most churches are bullshit, right? Like they're just feminized. How does someone that doesn't know anything find
Make sure that your church tradition is over 300 years old at least. Okay. And most of them ain't.
Right.
Okay. Most of them are not. But if they're 2,000 years old, they're probably a lot more trustworthy. If they're 1,000 years old, probably a lot more trustworthy. If they sprung up in the strip mall and it's a 10-year-old tradition, probably not the church you're looking for. If it's been around since the 80s, probably not the church you're looking for.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
If it's got an LGBTQ flag, not the church. If it's got a woman pastor, not the church. Okay? Like
Also,
the list goes on and on.